Right now, beneath your feet, a war is happening. Not a metaphor, an actual war. Millions of soldiers, chemical weapons, slave raids, territorial sieges. Wars that have been running longer than most human civilizations. And not one of those soldiers has ever received a single order. They're ants, and they've been doing this for over 100 million years. To understand why ants wage war, you have to understand what they're competing for. Food, nest sites, territory, workers, the unhatched young. Wherever two colonies need the same resources, conflict becomes inevitable. And ants don't compete as individuals. They compete as colonies. In an ant colony, most workers will never have offspring of their own. Their only way to pass on their genes is to keep the colony alive. Colonies that defend resources effectively leave more offspring. More workers, more soldiers, more queens. The colonies that fight better leave more offspring. That's all natural selection needs. Biologist E.O. Wilson described ant colonies as superorganisms. The colony itself is the real living thing. Individual ants are more like its cells. Think about what that means for warfare. The conflict isn't between individual insects. It's between two living entities, each using millions of tiny bodies as its army. Most people have walked over thousands of these battles and never known it. This is what we make here, the hidden world running beneath the obvious one. If this is landing well, hit like. It tells us this kind of thing is worth making. Subscribe, and the next one finds you. Before any war begins, ants must identify the enemy. They do this by smell. Every ant carries a coating of oily chemicals on the surface of its body. Each colony produces its own unique chemical blend. When two ants meet, their antennae scan each other in fractions of a second. If the smell matches, nestmate. If it doesn't, enemy. Because ants constantly groom each other and share food, the whole colony carries the same scent. No ant can fake it. The moment a scout encounters an enemy, it releases a chemical signal into the air. Nearby workers pick it up immediately. They become aggressive, alert, and mobile within seconds. The scout also lays a chemical trail on the ground. Other workers follow it, and they lay their own signals. Within seconds, an attack force assembles. No ant gave an order, no ant knows the plan. Yet organized, coordinated warfare emerges from millions following simple chemical cues. Scientists call this swarm intelligence. The weapons ants carry are extraordinary for something so small. The most common weapon is the mandible, pincer-like jaws that slice, crush, and dismember. Many species combine those jaws with chemical weapons. Acid-spraying ants fire formic acid directly into wounds their jaws have already opened. It burns tissue, repels enemies, and keeps wounds from closing. Fire ants add a different weapon, a paralyzing venom injected through a stinger. Then there are the trapjaw ants. Their jaws close at 60 meters per second. That's among the fastest biological movements ever recorded. Hard enough to snap an enemy clean off the battlefield. But nothing quite prepared researchers for what they found in Southeast Asia. One species there takes self-sacrifice to an extreme. When cornered, the soldier ruptures its own body, releasing a toxic, sticky spray onto its attacker. The soldier dies, the colony survives. Ant warfare takes several forms, and one of them involves kidnapping. The most common is territorial. Neighboring colonies defend their borders continuously. Patrols go out, intruders are attacked on sight. Then there are resource raids. A scout finds food, competing colonies converge, a battle erupts. Nest invasions are more severe. The goal: kill the queen, steal the unhatched young, and occupy the territory. Some colonies pursue complete extermination, killing every worker, larva, and queen they find. And then there are the slave raids. Slave-making ants send scouts to locate a target colony. A raiding force assembles, overwhelms the defenders, and carries off the unhatched young. Those ants grow up believing they belong to the colony that stole them. They spend their entire lives doing work for their kidnappers. And as victim species evolve better defenses, the raiders evolve better attack tactics. It's an arms race with no end. Of all ant species, army ants are in a category of their own. They build no permanent nest, they're constantly moving. The most studied species can mobilize hundreds of thousands of workers for a single raid. Raid columns stretch hundreds of meters across the forest floor. Everything in their path is consumed: insects, spiders, and small vertebrates. They have specialized soldier castes, coordinated scouting, and rapid reinforcement. They're the closest biological equivalent to a professional standing army that nature has ever produced. But the largest ant wars ever documented involve a much smaller species: the Argentine ant. When it spread around the world as an invasive species, something unexpected happened. Nests separated by thousands of kilometers began recognizing each other as allies. Their colony sense had grown so similar over generations that distant strangers smelled like family. The result was a supercolony, a single cooperative alliance spanning multiple countries. And where two supercolonies meet, the scale of the conflict becomes incomprehensible. Researchers documented front lines in Europe where millions of ants die every single year. Not over a few days, not over a season. Every year, ongoing for years, possibly for decades. The Argentine ant is currently fighting wars that have been running longer than many human ones. Here's what makes all of this so strange. A single ant has roughly 250,000 neurons. You have 86 billion. Yet ant colonies achieve things no individual ant could ever plan, understand, or comprehend. The ant doesn't need to understand. The colony does. When simple rules are followed by millions, the result can be something no individual could create alone. Scientists call this emergence. It's the same reason a flock of birds turns as one with no leader. Researchers at Harvard and MIT have built swarm robots and distributed networks on these principles. The ant colony has no boss, no blueprint, and no brain. And yet it turns out to be one of our best engineering teachers. Ants were doing this while dinosaurs still walked the earth. Over 100 million years of warfare, selecting for better weapons, better strategies, better soldiers. The ant arrived at organized conflict not by thinking, but by being shaped by it. Next time you step over a patch of dirt, you're stepping over a battlefield. What's down there has been running longer than our species has existed. No ant knows it's at war. Yet the war goes on. Think about what that means for who, or what, is actually in charge. There's plenty more to uncover. See you next time.